right, welcome to video 3 in our series of digitizing your 3D model of the room that we sketched. This is part 3. If you missed part 1 and 2, they're linked in the description. Go back and watch those first and follow along with the work. So as a reminder, this is where we're heading, to a room with different objects that are individual and can be shown and hid in different ways. So they're components. And today what we're going to add is this soffit up here, basically this shape, these windows, and this mirror. So this is where we left off at the end of video 2. All right. So I'm going to start off by working on the soffit up here. And by the way, I'm going to try to make this video quick. Grab me if you have questions or if something isn't clear. All right, so I'm going into my main component here, and then I'm going into the walls. And we're going to go into the closet walls component. We're going to go in here, and I'm going to click the little radio button so that I'm in the closet walls component. And what we're going to do then, let's see, so this is the south wall, which makes this the east wall. So I'm going to hide the east wall. All right. And we're going to come from this side, and we're going to create a sketch on this wall here. And this sketch is pretty simple. I'm going to hit R for the rectangle tool. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to hit the P for project. I'm going to project this line and this line. Okay, I've got those two selected. Say OK. All right. Now I'm going to hit R for the rectangle tool. I'm going to start at this corner, and I'm going to go up to this corner. And you'll see it doesn't want to snap, so I'm just going to click it. And then you'll see that this is free floating. I'm going to hold Shift and click that point. So I've got this little line segment and this point connected. And I'm going to hit the coincident constraint. Boom. Okay. Now this sketch, if I look in here, that's this sketch. You can see it's fully constrained, and that's all we need to do for creating that top soffit. So we'll go like that. And actually, one thing I'm going to do real quick while I'm at it is I'm going to go back into that sketch, and we're going to call this soffit profile. Profile just meaning that it's a side view. And we're going to come back in here and we're going to edit it. And then I'm going to hide the three bodies that are the wall, the closet walls. And I'm going to grab the rectangle tool again with hitting R. I'm going to click this point here, and I'm going to come down here. All right, and this is, I believe from my sketchbook, 24 inches wide by 16 inches tall, and this is for the little cutout. So this will be, I'll extrude this for the soffit, and this will be for the cutout in the two interior closet walls. And if these numbers aren't right, I'll check these. And if these aren't right, actually, why don't I just check them out? I've got my sketchbook, and I'll look up. Oh, interesting. I'm glad I checked. It's actually 31 inches. 31 inches. So it's like that. So that's good. And 16 inches was right. So we'll finish the sketch. All right. I'm going to show these three bodies again. All right. And the first thing, I'm going to hit E for extrude. And I'm going to extrude this. And we're going to come right through there. And I'm going to say, that's the direction. I'm going to go to an object, and it's going to be to this face here. All right, and that's going to, by default, that's going to cut, which is what we want to do. It's going to cut out those shapes. And it's not the third wall here. Oh, Oh, interesting. I did it wrong. Cancel that. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that in a bit because I want to cut out of this. I want to cut out of this wall and this wall, but not out of this wall. So if that's all right, we'll just start with the top soffit. So we'll extrude this and come into here, and I'm going to say to object, and I'm going to go to this point here. All right. Okay. All right. Great. Now our soffit is in there, and now I'm going to actually create one more sketch. We can show the soffit profile sketch, and I'm going to create a sketch here, and I'm going to project this line, this line, this line, and that's fine. I'll say OK. All right, so now if I look, you can see those are now projected down there. And this is going to be closet cutout profile. All right, finish that. We'll extrude this, and we're going to push it this way. And again, instead of distance, I'm going to say to object, and I'm going to go to this face of this wall. If I look in there, yeah, it should be just right, and it's going to cut, which is what we want. We say OK. All right, and now we went from having 3 bodies to having 1 body when we used the soffit, when we created the soffit, and then still have 1 body with our cutouts there. So that's great. So the soffit is done there. I can minimize these and go back to the walls, and we'll open up the east wall. All right, now I'm going to create, let's see what's next. I'm going to create the window in this wall. So this here is the south wall, and you can see it. If I click on it, it gives me this little underline. So south wall, so I'm going to hide the south wall, and then I'm going to hide the closet walls. All right, so we can look at this wall here. All right, so I'm going to do one thing first. I'm going to go to my change parameters, which, remember, if you don't see it up there, is down here. So we'll go to change parameters, and I'm going to say window sill height, and we'll look up in my handy sketchbook what was the window sill height. I've got 35 inches. Okay. And then the actual window height, which is from the top to the bottom of the window height, is 68 inches. All right. And I'm putting those as parameters because we're going to use them. There are 3 windows, and they're the same for all 3 windows. So we'll go from there. And I'm just going to make this one window, and then I'm going to pause the recording and come back and finish this up another time. I'm going to say create sketch. All right. I'm going to project both of these 2 lines. So I selected the lines by holding shift and clicking them. And I'm going to hit the P key to do that. And it's got 2 selected. We'll project those. Okay, so we've got these nice lines. So this is the interior of the wall, and these are sections of the wall that are sort of hidden behind the walls that come out towards us. All right, so now I'm going to make a rectangle. So that's the window, okay? And it's not constrained in any way. Oh, well, it is in the vertical and horizontal dimensions, but it's not, the locations of these lines are not constrained in any way. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit escape twice because it wasn't giving me what I want, and I'm going to go from this to here, okay, to the origin there. All right, and I'm going to call it sill height, window sill height. Okay, so there's that. And then the height of the window is window height. So there's that. Okay. And then the distance to the corner from here to this line, taking from my sketch drawing, it's 21 inches according to my sketch. And then the width of the window here is 57 inches. All right. So there's the first main big window. And if we go in here, oh, you know what I've done? I made this in the walls component. We'll change that. That's fine. I I should have selected the north wall here before I made this, but that's all right. So we're going to rename this sketch. Hit escape. And then we're going to rename this sketch Windows North. All right. And we'll put another window over here in a bit, but I'm not quite ready for that. So we'll say finish sketch. Okay. And then I'm going to take this sketch. I'm going to go into north wall, which is that wall there. I'm going to go in here. Let's see if this works. I'm just going to try to drag this sketch and drop it. Great. Okay, great. Now the sketch is a part of this component, which is what we want. All right, and now I've got the little radio check box checked. I'm going to hit E, and I'm going to go like that, and it's going to be negative exterior outside wall thickness. I could also have done it to this far wall surface. Either one is perfectly fine. So there's our first wall our first window in the wall. So I'm going to go back to the walls component and we can show these two. So we've done the soffit and the cutouts for the closets, and we've done the first window. So I'm going to come back in a few minutes and we'll do the two windows here. We'll put up the column here, and then we'll put in the closet. So now's a good time to pause if you want to catch up and do those two steps. All right, so welcome back after the pause. So where we left off, we are working on these walls. We got the closet walls done, and we got one window put into this wall. So now we're going to work on the next window for that wall. So I'm going to hide the closet walls and the south wall again, and then I'm going to go into the north wall. So I'm working in the north wall component, and I'm going to edit this sketch. All right. So I need to add a window over here. And in this case, it's actually going to go all the way to this edge. The windows are a little funky in that room, the way that they kind of meet at a point, but I just want to show them, kind of with an opening in that space. So if I look at this one, you can see it's just an opening. So I don't have in reality, there's a lot more detail and complexity to that, but we don't actually need it for our purposes. So I'm going to come in and I am going to do another rectangle. So R for rectangle, and I'm going to bring this edge so that it snaps to the far edge of the wall. All right. And now I could go in and use the dimension tool to put this. And actually, I'm going to take this and make it a project. I hit X. I selected this projected line and I hit X to make it a construction line. So it's a construction line, and that way this is one solid object. If it were not a construction line, you can see that it's trying to have this be two separate objects, which we don't want that. So back here, construction line. All right, and now I've got one object. And you should see I can move it around. I could come in and I could use the dimension tool to do again the window sill height, but I actually don't want to do that. if you can do it if you want, but a better way is to select this line and use a collinear constraint. And then we'll do the same for this line and this line. All right. And basically, you want to use the constraints when you can, and only use the dimension tool if you have to, and you'll get used to it. But if you can get by with using a constraint, that's always preferable to a dimension. All right, and then the last thing is to constrain the left-right motion of this line here. And if I look on my measurement, it's 181 inches from the corner of the room to this here. And so I'll put this dimension here, and it's 181 inches. So there is the window there. We'll finish this sketch. All right, and actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to show this sketch, and then I'm going to go into this extrusion where I extruded this window, and I'm actually going to edit this feature. I could hit the E and extrude this back as a separate extrusion feature, but it's a little bit cleaner and neater if I go in and edit this extrusion and I select this window as well. And so then there it's done. And so you can see now if I go back to walls, you can see there are the two windows on the north wall. All right, so then we're going to hide this wall here, which is the west wall, and I'm going to go into this wall here, which is the east wall. And then we can close that up a little bit, and we're going to come in here. I've got the radio button checked, so we're within the east wall component, and I'm going to create a sketch. All right. And I'm going to do something real quick, which is to project this point and this point. So I selected the two, and I hit project and click OK. So now I've got these two purple points projected in. That'll help give me my height for this window. I could, again, dimension it off the floor, but I'd rather just do it that way. Minimize my dimensions. So there's that. And we'll go like that. And then this line, I'm going to make it coincident with the little purple projected point. Okay. And then this, I'm going to dimension from there to there. All right. And the measurement I took in the room was 162 inches. All right. Finish that sketch. And then we're going to do the extrude. We'll select that surface, and we're going to say negative outside wall thickness, and it'll do a cut operation. We hit OK. All right, so there's our other window. So we'll go back to that's fine. And we can show our closet walls, our south wall, and our west wall. So we're getting closer and closer. Oh, one thing, you can see this sketch is still visible in here with these projections and stuff. If I go there, that's the north wall. I can go there and I can make that invisible. So now it's not kind of cluttering up the model anymore. All right, so there's our two windows in the corner. I'm going to do one more thing, which is I'm going to put it on this wall here. This is the east wall, right? I'm going to go back into the east wall. And then if I hit the project tool, that's interesting. It doesn't, or not the project, but the extrude tool. It won't let me, it's very interesting that it won't let me select that. So that must be, so what I'm going to do is go to this sketch. That's this sketch here. We're going to edit that real quick. Aha, and the reason it won't let me is because it's not, there's no geometry here. So I'm going to hit R for rectangle, and I'm going to go from this point to this point. Finish sketch. Okay, so now We'll go back into the east wall because it took us out because we were editing this sketch. So we're going back into the east wall. And all of this is just so that I can get this little post, extrude this little post up. So I'm going to hit the E, and I'm going to click that now. Okay, excellent. And we're going to go like that, and we're going to say, instead of a distance, I could say distance, and I could say ceiling height, and that would be fine. Or I could say to object and go to this, nope, not to that object, to that there, to that point right there. So either one, they'll accomplish the same thing. You do either one. Click OK, and I did a join feature. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is edit that feature. I don't want to do join. I want to do a new body. Say OK. And so now in the east wall, there is body 1, which is the wall, and there's body 2, which is the column. And I could put this column in any, I could put it in its own component, or I could put it in the north wall component. I just sort of randomly chose the east wall component to do it. All right, so there's our east wall, and so we're getting very close now. Go back to 311 North. So we're getting very close now. The only thing, hide that origin, the only thing left to do is to put a mirror in here. And so I'm actually going to go back to the east wall again. Open that up, select it. And I think, do I want it to be a separate body? I think I do want it to be a separate body. So what I'm going to do is create a sketch here. Okay. And this wall that's kind of blocking is the west wall. So I'll hide that. Okay, so this is better. All right. And the mirror is parallel to the front of these closet walls. And you can see here's a closet wall. So if I project this, select that and hit the P key for project, there's that. So now I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to make it snap onto there. Okay. And the mirror was 72 inches high, 6 feet high. It was 24 inches wide, 24 inches wide. And then you'll see it still isn't fully constrained because I can move it up and down. It was 18 inches off the ground. So I go from here to here, here to here, okay. And this is going to be 18. Okay, so there's the mirror, and if I go into my sketches, I can see it's fully constrained. And I'm going to actually rename this. This is mirror sketch. I could put this in the same sketch as my windows also if you prefer, but doesn't matter that much. All right, so we'll finish the sketch. All right, and now I'm going to come in here. I am going to extrude. So I hit E for extrude and click the mirror surface. And I didn't actually measure this. It's about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. So let's say 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to say 0.75 inches. All right, and instead of join, I want to do a new body. I'll say OK. All right, so here's body 3, and I'm going to name it mirror. All right, and so there's our mirror. And then the last thing to do with the mirror is I'm going to change the appearance of the mirror so that it's like a reflective surface. So I'm going to hit A on the keyboard for appearances, or I can right click and go down to appearance. All right, and satin steel, I think, is it under mirror? Yeah, mirror, here it is. So I just searched in the library for mirror, and here is a material called mirror. I'm going to click it and drag it out to the place where I want to put it. Plunk, close this, and now you can see it has that kind of reflective sheen. And it doesn't actually really reflect what's in the room. It just kind of reflects like some random room. I don't know what that green thing is. So there, now if we go out again, we'll minimize these things and go back here. Oh, and then I want to show the west wall. So here is the completed model. So this will be ready to put furniture and objects in and to decorate it to your heart's content. If you want to put more detail into the windows, you can take measurements and create components for the windows. Um, I don't think that's really necessary for the purposes of interior decorating. You could also put a floor and a ceiling, like a floor and a roof on, but again, I don't think it really serves anything. I think it's just as good to have those be left empty. And if we look at this, it should pretty much be the same as this. Let's go here and just take a look like that. So those are pretty much identical. Let me know if you have questions. Feel free to go back to earlier videos if you need to, and we can go from there. Thanks, y'all.